Serious, Redditors who have been on a game show or any contest on TV, what were some behind the scenes rules that they tell you before they send you out before the cameras? I was a lifeline on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We were prepped, the 5 of us that were the chosen lifelines, and in this prepping there was no mention about googling. In other words, it was understood that using the 30-second window to Google a question would be acceptable. Many people wonder this, I think, so I thought I'd share. Neat, I figured the one being called would be ready with Google. I was at a taping of The Price is Right. During the commercial break, Drew Carey talked to the crowd a lot and gave a lady a lap dance because it was her 90th birthday. Yep, that hit the spot. Really needed that image in my head. Welcome to The Price is Right, where the numbers are made up and the prizes are lap dances. I went to the taping of an episode of Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition. It was the episode in Green Bay. We did a ton of reaction shots to nothing. Okay, everyone turn around and be excited about how amazing he looks, so we all turn around and cheer for nobody. Eventually the person who lost the weight came out, then went back and came out again. It was pretty funny. Also they gave out McDonald's gift cards to the crowd, which was weird because it's a weight loss show. Giving out McDonald's gift cards guarantees a future pool of candidates. I was on Jeopardy a few years ago. Everything seemed on the up and up to me. In the green room beforehand, they even brought in a lawyer and said that he would be there the whole time, and we could speak to him anytime if we had any concerns, even during a taping. The other interesting thing was that one of the contestant coordinators said, we're not going to tell you how to play the game, but the stats show that everyone ends up with more money at the end if you start at the top of a category and go straight down, to discourage daily double hunting and random category jumping like that one guy did last season. You could really see the disdain Alex Trebek has for that guy when he jumped around. I auditioned for Wipeout. They were only interested in people that acted literally insane. Are you ready to go crazy? I am already hearing voices. You're hired. I like the Sly SpongeBob reference. I tried out for Jeopardy once. They said they deliberately make the qualifying questions much harder than what you see on the show because 1. They want to find people who are actually smart and not just lucky, and 2. People get kinda stupid when you put a TV camera on them. Cash cab. It is not completely random. They stopped me on the street and asked if I wanted to be on a show about the city. Me and some friends would go to a location and talked about current events. They set up a phone interview to test subjects' knowledge, really to gauge question knowledge. I was told to arrive at a location to film with a friend. When I got there they said a band was playing on a patio nearby affecting their sound levels. They hailed us a cab and said it would take us to the new location. Boom, lights and cameras as soon as we got in. I'm impressed at how far they went to actually make it feel somewhat spontaneous. You knew you were doing something, but, in theory, the cash cab part was a surprise. Cool. I was in a taping of an MTV show and all of the party and bar scenes were actually filmed during the day. The bars would be too crowded to get cameras, lighting, and cabling around, so they covered the windows in black plastic to keep it dark inside and filmed several days of partying and girls making out with strangers at 10:00 in the morning on the same day in multiple bars. The people inside were just people who they invited to come in off the street and sign waivers. Even the music was fake and added in later. The directors literally sat out on the curb under tents and in front of monitors directing the whole thing. I was a contestant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire hot seat last year. There are 6 contestants in every episode. We were told that if we even so much as looked at another contestant while we were filming the episode, we would both be disqualified. I will never forget this. Regis is dumb. Regis does not have the answers until we show them after you've locked in your answer. If you are working through an answer and you think he's making faces to guide you, remember, there's as much chance that he's going to help as there is that he's making that face because he's relieving himself. Regis is dumb. Not sure if this was a production assistant telling you this or Regis. I've heard legends he only speaks of himself in the third person. I sat in the audience for Australia's Got Talent auditions. There's only 3 things that were a little odd. Firstly, it takes about 20 minutes between each act to come on and audition in front of the judges. That got old real quick. Secondly, They pre-record samples of audience reactions in order to use it as extra footage. So before any auditions they got us all to give fake standing ovations, moderate clapping, awkward clapping, screaming WTFing. The fat host guy started stripping on stage to get us to really give a good WTF face. But we also had to boo. Lastly, they really know how to make a half-full theater look packed to the maximum. Sneaky cameras. I went to a taping of an Indonesian game show called Hari Anda. They really had no rules. Everyone fills in a card when signing in. The host draws a card out of a bowl. If you're called up, you go up and play. The game was simple. There's boxes with prizes inside for every day of the year. You either pick your birthday and they open the box for that day, or you spin a wheel. It sounds lame until you realize the whole show's purpose was to create an underground gambling scene in a Muslim country. There are people betting on which dates would come up and whether or not someone would pick the wheel or the boxes. I was 12 at that time, won a motorcycle, and my parents quickly sold it away before I got any crazy ideas. I was on Deal or No Deal as the player. Honestly, I have nothing but good things to say about the entire process. The game isn't rigged and they don't try and steer you towards or away any particular cases. The interactions with the host were all genuine, and it was super fun. I didn't know before the day that I would be selected, but I had a hunch because I had a couple of phone interviews with the producers before the day of the taping. They taped 5 episodes in one day, so my surprised happy reaction when I got picked was genuine. They definitely seem to prefer people who have a good story or some sort of angle. Mine was that I'd be using any money I won for an engagement ring. Happy to answer any questions people may have about the day. I won 8 grand on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Backstage, they gave a lot of tips and one serious warning. The tips were use your Ask the Audience lifeline early. It's best if you use it first, and you don't want to use it on the hard questions. The logic is you're on the show and they're not, so it's likely you know more than the people in the audience. The harder the question, the less likely they are to be helpful. Another tip was talk out your answer and listen to the audience reaction. If you say you're leaning toward one answer and everyone gasps really loudly, you should at least reconsider your answer. A lady who went after me didn't do this and wound up blowing it before she even got to the save point, so she went home with nothing. They also said do not joke around with the final answer phrase. There's a guy in the control booth who is listening just for those words. If he thinks you said it, he hits a button, and you are locked in, even if you were just kidding. Finally, they told us that the questions are generated by a company that has nothing else to do with the production company. That is, the questions are not generated in-house. A company in another part of town comes up with them and delivers them on CDs. The guys in the production booth just grab one off the stack and put it in for each new contestant. They have no idea what's on them. They told us all this to make the point that if you feel like you've somehow been cheated, go ahead and sue. They take these precautions to ensure that if you do try to take them to court, you will lose. Anything else y'all would like to know? I auditioned to be on the show Wipeout. I found out they specifically look for people with something extremely unique about them and or people who are willing to make a fool of themselves on TV. They are not interested in athletic people who might actually have a chance of completing the course. That is what Ninja Warrior is for. Tried out for Legends of the Hidden Temple. They put me on the Blue Barracudas. They tell you not talk directly to Omok because the questions are preset and he will only answer with set responses. It was actually cool to see the dude who runs Omok come out and wave to the crowd. He was just some skinny white dude who does voices. They basically see if you can run jump and if you are too much of a little bee around temple guards. I ended up just playing one trivia game in front of a crowd at Universal Studios Florida and it never made it to air. My little brother cried non-stop because I got picked instead of him, but he was only 7 and I was 11. I was on Video Arcade Top 10 back when they played the SNES. We played Kirby's Dream Course, which is the dopest game ever. We got to try the game for 20 minutes before the show. Other than that they gave us zero instruction. Just turn around and play the game. And kids were great at that. I couldn't tell when they were rolling or not, or when they were introducing the contestants. That's why they usually have some dumb look on their face on TV because they have no idea they are rolling. I don't know how they decided I won and didn't realize I did until I was pulling the ping pong ball from the basket trash can. I pulled some number, not the red, but couldn't tell what I won. Ended up getting a copy of the game, t-shirt, hat, and I got 2 tickets to some show that was for the day before. They swapped them out for an additional game, Score. Ever since I saw the Grumps play that game, all I've heard are good things about it, and to get to play a great looking game for TV would be super cool. Congratulations, man. I was on Millionaire Hot Seat in Australia and they basically gave us one major tip. Don't listen to the host. Apparently everyone tries to read his body language and pick up on subtle clues that he gives them. But in reality he actually has no freaking idea what the answer is until you've already locked it in. Cool guy though. Eddie can't cheat cause Eddie don't know crap from Clay. I was on Win Ben Stein's Money. The qualifying written test was tougher than the Jeopardy one, at least at the time. Half of us washed out after that and were sent home. Those remaining played practice games with bells in front of us. We were encouraged to ring in quickly and not worry about right answers. There were people with clipboards assessing us. If you weren't fun, quirky, or somehow sympathetic or interesting, you got sent home. After that, we had face-to-face interviews with staffers. More marks on clipboards. After that, you went home. During the next few days, the show let us know if we were in the contestant pool. We couldn't wear white and had to bring our own makeup if we wore it. Several games were shot in one day. We were encouraged to hang out and get friendly with each other, so backstage wasn't stressful really. It was lots of fun, and we got craft services food, which was nice. There was a long break between the second and third games, so Ben could take a nap. I didn't win Ben's money, but I got to chat with him very briefly. I got a show lanyard, a certificate of completion, and a really heavy clothes presser as a consolation prizes. I also ended up with a side gig test playing game shows, because the Wrangler liked me. Everyone should try to get on a TV game show at least once. It's an interesting process. I was on family game night after being on the right street at the right time in California a few summers ago. There's certain cards you aren't supposed to pick because they have nothing behind them. And when it's your time to pick a game they give you like 6 choices, but in reality they tell you there's only 2 they have set up and ready to go. All of the answers and games are pre-planned. Most of the time the family has already been on the vacation they won, so they can show a picture the following week of them and their destination. It was a really cool game and a lot of fun to see filmed. 3 half-an-hour episodes takes 9 hours to film though. I probably would do it again if I had the chance. It was a fun experience. If you get called up for a game on the Ellen show, do not pick her up out of excitement or give her a bone-crushing hug. We were told she has a bad back. I went to Jerry Springer a while back when it was still in Chicago. On TV it looks like it's a free-for-all, but everything is planned. That random guy yelling from the audience? That's one of the producers. They make it clear you're only supposed to respond to the producer's cues. Also, if there's going to be a fight they kinda freeze frame it and clear the stage before they go at it. It looks seamless after editing, but they actually move the chairs away so they don't trip. I went to a Jerry Springer show in Connecticut and it's so fake. No surprise, but it was funny to see people fighting, and then during commercial break they'd like high five and crap. The producers also told us what to ask at the end. I was on a magic show filmed for the CW. Big production. I found myself backstage before the show began, and a magician and a PA approached me because I was the right build for a special jacket he had, and they asked if I would be in the show. I said heck yay, as long as there are no tigers. They told me I would raise my hand when they asked for volunteers and that I had to act really surprised when the dude called me out. Then they would do a little charade and steal my wallet. Once I got up there it had nothing to do with my wallet. I ran around with him for like 10 minutes and tied up his assistant and crap. And then they did this disappearing act with me and his assistant in a tube, and she came out tied wearing the special jacket. 'Twas fun. What you don't know is they replaced your wallet with a fake one and still have yours. I went to a taping of The Man Show. They had a prize wheel that people from the audience could spin if chosen randomly. The random winners were all seated last and came in with VIP badges. The first guy who spun the wheel won a weekend at the Playboy Mansion. We all cheered for the guy. Second guy spun and also hit weekend at the Playboy Mansion. We cheered him as well. Until they made him spin a game twice more to get something else and he ended up with shave your eyebrows and they did it. We also got a single beer to hold till the end of a couple hours of taping to cheers with but must not drink. I know the magic of TV and blah blah blah, but it just wasn't a fun experience. I was on Let's Make a Deal last summer. First they told us to be wild and crazy and exciting. They asked us interview questions before we even went inside and told us they used that and that they were constantly watching us in the audience to determine who to select for each deal. They told us that when Wayne Brady was choosing who to pick we could go as crazy as we want trying to be noticed, but that if our asses left the seat we definitely wouldn't get picked. On a side note, I expected Wayne to be fun and talkative with the audience, but he wasn't. Every time they cast a commercial, he would run off backstage. About 5 seconds before continuing shooting he'd run back on stage. So there was nothing really fun about seeing him. I was unimpressed. Also sad that I didn't get picked for anything XD. All in all, I found it not very fun. It was exhausting trying to keep up that level of energy for an hour or two. It felt so shallow. Not that I expected otherwise or anything. Let's be real, haha. What if you just sit there and stare the whole time? I was on Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego when I was a kid. I don't remember specific rules, but I was I didn't get to take that sweet butt gumshoe jacket home. And I didn't get to meet the chief. In the 1970s, there was a game show where celebrity couples were asked questions and earned points. Each point translated into dollars for that celebrity couple's cheering section. Our celebrity couple earned the largest number of points in the show's history. So that meant that I and the 99 other people in the celebrities cheering section took home $45 each. In 1977 money, that is almost $200 today. I was at a taping of Whose Line Is It Anyways last year that featured Verna Troyer, Ozzy's son, and some lady that I did not recognize, but as soon as we were seated, the show pretty much started. A friend and I were seated near the guest entrance, so we got to high five everyone, which was cool. The show began really fast and lasted about 3-4 hours and it didn't seem scripted, but I'm pretty sure they had a rough idea of what was going to happen so they could be prepared. There was a lot of swearing and a lot of improvisation acts that couldn't be shown on TV for very lewd behavior or language, but were probably the funniest acts of all. The best parts are when the actors are out of frame but they're busting up on the side or egging each other on. That said, the last hour absolutely sucks. It's about an hour or so of retakes, so that means tons of clapping and cheering. After 15 minutes your hands become sore. You're tired because it's around midnight and bored from seeing the same guest introduced 4 times. Was at a taping of a food eating contest. They brought out this big burger and the guy acted like he started chowing down on it. About 4 bites and they turn the cameras off and throw half the food out and start filming again and getting us to chant one more bite. If it's man versus food, my life will be a lie. On The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, before we went into the seating area, they told us to laugh out loud at the jokes. It was upsetting. Oh god, when I went the warm-up guy singled me out and just told me to practice a loud laugh. It felt so awkward. Went to a taping of Millionaire once. They did have a few retakes for random reasons, like if something was wrong the filming. So on a couple of occasions the contestant had to say his answer again and we all had to fake the excitement as if it were the first time, as would the contestant. I work in TV and have given these talks. Generally, if you've made it to the point where you're about to be in front of camera, you already fit a role that production is shooting for, whether it be someone bubbly, someone dramatic, someone interesting, etc. Generally the pep talk before camera is 1. Have fun, 2. Be yourself, 3. Brief compliment, you look great, love the outfit, etc. and 4. Small posture position pep talk, don't cross your arms, don't put your hands in your pockets, face this way, etc. 5 is a general rundown of what is about to happen and what is expected of you. And that's pretty much it. Of course this varies from show to show, but like I said, if you've already made it that far, you've already been through the grinder and have been chosen for some reason or another. I worked on a big competition show for a cable channel that's been on for a few seasons. We filmed our finale in public. Basically, out on the street in a major city, so there could have been people watching from the sidewalk when we filmed the big announcement of the winner of the show, with the lights flashing and balloons dropping and the confetti flying and the music and hugging, which is why we filmed it again, 10 minutes later, with the loser, pretending to be the winner. They've just been on this competition show for a month, worked their butt off, and come in second, and now they had to pretend that they won, so we could fool social media. I felt so bad for that person, having to pretend, while so disappointed inside. Then they brought out 2 other contestants who'd been eliminated weeks before, and made them pretend to win. It was pretty surreal, especially doing the balloon drop every time. I was on the singing bee with host Melissa Peterson. When the show opens it looks like she is picking people out of the crowd who sing the correct lyrics to compete, but really we were pre-selected and flown into Burbank before the show and hung out most of the day in the basement level of the studio, singing the same opening song over and over again to make sure we didn't frick it up when we were on camera. And at the end, when the last person is left and they get to sing the last 3 songs for cash, if they mess all 3 up they get a do-over. The girl who won at my taping forgot and sang the very last song correctly, so she only got a small cash prize. The show is on CMT, so most of the songs are country. I however managed to have to sing a dang Michael Bublé song and was eliminated that round because why the heck would I think to practice a Michael Bublé song? I knew someone who was on Cupcake Wars. A lot of time limits are fake. Most of the time they will tack on an extra 5-10 minutes, and if you aren't done by then it goes on like normal. Also, the competition isn't done in one day. It's over the course of 2 or 3 days, depending on the event they are catering. The hunky carpenters are a lie. The competitors have to create their own displays and bring them to the studio where they hold them in a giant warehouse. They may put together parts that are removable just for the video, but they aren't doing any of the original work or design. Oh, and the competitors have to pay for the construction of their display out of pocket. So when you see really crummy looking displays, that means the baker had a low budget. So basically the whole show is a lie, but I like getting flavor ideas from it. The hunky carpenters are a lie. I went to a taping of the Colbert Report. They have a warm-up comedian, obviously, tell you to be really loud when he runs in, and Stephen Colbert did an out-of-character Q&A that was unfortunately really brief. Overall, amazing experience though. How I discovered the National. I got to be in the studio audience of the Bozo the Clown show in 1964 when I was 4 years old. It was very cool to see all the behind the scenes tricks they used to achieve some of the effects for the magic tricks the viewing audience saw. But all I could really think about was how embarrassing it felt to be sitting there in the diaper my mom made me wear because we weren't allowed bathroom breaks during filming. I was on a reality TV show, on cable, for photographers and models that competed against each other for the chance to shoot for a major international publication. What I found most strange was with regard to the interviews we would record immediately after filming a segment for the show. We would sit in a room and a producer off camera would ask us questions relating to what they just witnessed from the control room. However, we were instructed to always answer the question by first restating it in a statement. For example, one time after a photo shoot scene a producer asked me, "You and Jane seem to get along great. Do you think it's normal for photographers and models to flirt during a shoot?" Not only would I have to respond, I would have to respond by restating the question in my answer. Something like, "Jane and I got along great, and flirting during a shoot is totally normal due to the environment and setting," or something to that effect. I found out months later when watching the show on air that they did this so they could interject these recorded statements of me in the middle of the scene that preceded their questioning. So for example, during that photo shoot scene they inserted the clip of me saying Jean and I got along great and flirting is totally normal in the middle of Jean and my photo shoot scene to make it seem like this was something on my mind at the time of the shoot, when in reality this wasn't on my mind and it was merely a question they propositioned to me after the fact, and I was merely forced to respond in such a way that made it seem like the thought originated from me. This happened all the time throughout the whole show, and clearly enabled the producers to make stories and plot lines that weren't actually there in reality. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.